Breaking news is AH's ex-lawyer was not only exposed as being the co-creator of a fraud, but that fraud has finally collapsed. That's right, the months and months in spin and damage control, they didn't help, and time's up has come to an end. Now, what's astounding is that Adam Waldman, JD's attorney, was one of the first people to put this thing on blast, calling it out, saying, hey, there is something wrong here, which was ignored, by the way. I mean, the press ignored it. They went after him. They tried to bury him and more. And let me be very clear about this. When I say fraud, I'm talking about millions of dollars that ended up being mismanaged, with a lot of money going into the pockets of the people behind this thing themselves. A mission statement that ended up being such a lie that it not only collapsed, but this collapse, it was called out at the highest levels of authority. And all the blocking in the world doesn't undo the fact that AH's prior lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, the co-founder of Time's Up, was the reason that it fell apart. There is so much to this thing, too. The media, they're not calling it out either. They're just willing to brush it aside because it's inconvenient. You and I, we're going to talk about it, though. Crazy times, huh? Crazy times indeed. All right, so hey there, to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way, I hope you are doing excellently. So just this week, a bombshell dropped telling us that Time's Up, it had halted operations. Now, AH's ex-lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, was one of the co-founders of Time's Up. You can see this mentioned right here at the bottom. In 2018, Kaplan co-founded the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, and long before this was a safe subject to talk about, you had JD and Adam Waldman actually calling this thing out. Again, Adam Waldman got a lot of blowback for saying this, but listen to what he has to say, and it proved to be correct to the point. Again, we're right here, right now, watching Time's Up collapse. Quote, AH's Time's Up counsel, Roberta Kaplan, continues her discovery abuses, bizarrely invoking the name of former client. Who was that client again of hers? Oh yeah, Harvey Weinstein, and a 2004 film he produced in hopes of distracting from AH's own taped confessions of violence and abuse hoaxes. But, he continues, Weinstein's real association is with Roberta Kaplan herself. Waldman claimed that Kaplan and the other co-founder of Time's Up Legal Defense Fund, quote, have a client list of accused abusers and hoaxers that include the likes of Jussie Smollett, Harvey Weinstein, and AH. And he finished this off by saying, real victims deserve better self-appointed leaders than these buck chasers. Now, the client list alone is a glaring red flag. But guess what? Hollywood, the mainstream media, they just out and out choose to ignore or even endorse part of it, depending on who it is. I mean, they endorsed AH, for example. They also chose to ignore the financial things that were going on behind the scenes. And if you pointed any of this stuff out, oh, you were attacked. They went after you hard, too, even though this is out and out fraud when you look at it. I mean, listen to this, really drink in what's being said. The organization, which comprises Time's Up Foundation and Time's Up Now, that's their lobbying arm, they raise a staggering $3,670,219 in their founding year. That's just in 1 year alone. Now, out of that, they spend a whopping $312,001 on their stated missions. So they take a small amount, put it into what they're supposed to be doing, while they take $1,407,032 and put this into salaries. Now, to put that into perspective, typically watchdog groups, they say that nonprofits, they should be spending around 75% on their mission. They should be spending 25% on administration. Yeah, 38% went to salaries, while you had 8.5% go to the mission. Again, that is out and out fraud, in my opinion. Now, one of the reasons that they get away with this for so long is because they pretty much throw around money buying goodwill. In Hollywood, for example, they picked up 71 actors and actresses. How did they do it? Well, they spent $157,155 on conferences. Those conferences, they include things like spa retreats, going to luxury resorts and spas in Los Angeles, while of course the people that they're supposed to be out there protecting, they get nothing at all. Now, along with that, of course, the mainstream media, they got to get their bread buttered. So there's $112,435 spent on quote-unquote public relations from a public relations company. And on top of that, you have the political element. And this is what really gets Time's Up in trouble. I think that they thought they would be immune to any type of political backlash. Why? Because they spent almost $750,000 ensuring their lobbying arm protected them, spending $719,522 on Capitol Hill. See, what ends up doing Time's Up in and bringing them to where we are with the collapse happening this week is the fact that Roberta Kaplan, again, AH's ex-lawyer, gets caught behind the scenes not doing what she says that she does. I mean, she says, hey, I represent those accusing. I listen and believe. Yeah, behind the scenes, she was giving advice, conflict of interest advice to Andrew Cuomo and his team. That ends up getting leaked, by the way, and in a perfect world, there would have been a problem with the idea that they only paid the legal fees for around 330 cases, but nah, that's not what does them in. What does them in is the ego, the pomposity of thinking that you could get away with this stuff. Now, Roberta Kaplan is, of course, forced to resign because of this, but what's interesting is I think that AH's ex-lawyer actually thought that Time's Up would survive this. I mean, they would get past it. I mean, after all, they had raised millions. They had around $24 million all told. They have around $1.5 million remaining. But here's their problem. The companies or organizations that would typically circle the wagons and protect them from this, and they have been protected quite a bit, but the ones that would speak out and say, yeah, welcome back to the fold, are the ones denouncing them. Here, for example, the National Women's Law Center. They had a quote about this. This is what they had to say. You can't back channel to corporations and entities and believe you were providing strategic advice when you're also suing those entities because they've engaged in serious wrongdoing. That's what they attempted to do, and that just erodes trust with survivors. All the blocking in the world doesn't make this untrue either. And Time's Up, Roberta Kaplan, the other people that are involved as well, they shouldn't just get to go away. I mean, again, they had millions of dollars on hand. They were supposed to go out. They were supposed to listen and believe. But you know what? They didn't. And if you look at that client list, again, they did throw in with hoaxers. They did throw in with accused abusers, people that lost again and again, Harvey Weinstein, AH, and more. But hey, what do I know, right? I mean, after all, Roberta Kaplan is a media darling. She goes after the right folks. I mean, hey, right now she's going after the orange man. So it doesn't matter anymore, right? But it does. It does indeed. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You want to help out the channel? Links are in the description. Could always use your help. Also, sharing this, it helps out too. Thank you too. Appreciate you. Going to end here. See ya.